All right, here is the video for graphing in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to go by the step-by-step process by using this example here that we have on the right, where it says graph this linear function, f of x equals negative x plus 5. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to plot the y-intercept. So plot the y-intercept. And the y-intercept we're going to write as 0, comma, whatever b is. And remember, the y-intercept is always on the y-axis. Okay, so using this example, this is going to be b. So our y-intercept is going to be 0, comma, 5. So I'm going to start by plotting that point. So 0, 5, there's my y-intercept. All right, then step 2, we're going to say from the y-intercept, move up or down. So up if it's positive, down if it's negative, the amount of the rise. Then we're going to move right, the amount of the run. Okay, so our slope in this case is a number in front of x. So our slope is going to be -1, which we're going to write that as a fraction to help us better know how we're going to move. So that's going to be -1 over 1. So from my point, my y-intercept, I'm going to move the direction of the slope. So -1 means we're going to go down 1. And then the denominator means we're going to go right 1. So from my point, I'm going to go down 1, right 1. Okay, and I'm going to keep moving that direction. And we can see here that this is going to help us form our line. So we're going to plot points in both directions. Using the slope. Okay, and then from there, we can connect our lines as best as we can, drawing arrows in both directions. So I want to write down some things that we should remember when graphing lines. Remember that if we have a positive slope, that means we're going to move up. If we have a negative slope, that means we're going to move down. When we graph our line, just to simplify things, we're always going to run to the right. And then lastly, we should turn our whole numbers into fractions. So whole number slopes into fractions. Okay, what I mean by that, if m equals 5, we should write that as 5 over 1 to help us better remember that we should run 1. All right, let's take a look at another example. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write my y-intercept. So my y-intercept is a point, so it's going to be 0, -3. So I'm going to plot that point. And then my slope is 2 over 5, which means we're going to go up 2 and then right 5. So from my point. So from my y-intercept, I'm going to go up 2, right 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's my next point. And I'm going to plot another one. I'm going to go up 2, 1, 2, and then over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep in mind, we can actually also go in the opposite direction. So we could go down 2, left 5, and it's the same effect. So down 2, from my y-intercept, down 2, left 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, down 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So to plot in both directions, you can move in the opposite direction. All right, just to make sure we got it, we're going to do a couple more problems here. This is from the homework. So first thing, we're going to write our y-intercept. So our y-intercept is going to be 0, 5. So there's that point. And my slope, m, is equal to 7. But I'm actually going to write that as 7 over 1. So that means we're going to go up 7, right 1. So as we can see from here, if we were to go up, we're going to go off the grid. So to graph our line, we're going to have to go in the opposite direction. So equivalent to up 7, right 1, we can go down 7, left 1 to go in the opposite direction. So from my point, I'm going to go down 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and left 1. And then that's as much as I can plot on this graph. So if you have to, move in the opposite direction. All right, here's another example. So first thing I'm going to do is write down my y-intercept. So it looks like there's no y-intercept, but really we can write this as 5/4 x plus 0. So that means my y-intercept is going to be 0, 0. And then my slope is going to be 5 over 4, which means we're going to go up 5, right 4. So from my line, up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. We should be able to plot one in the opposite direction. So remember the opposite direction, we can go down 5 and left 4 and get the same line. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then left 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's my line. All right, so now let's talk about how to write an equation in slope-intercept form. So first thing we need to do is we're still going to begin at our y-intercept. So we're going to find the y-intercept on the y-axis. And we're going to write it as 0, comma, b. So this is going to be, so looking at this example, I see that this is my y-intercept. My y-intercept is 0, 4, which means that b is equal to 4. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to find another point on the line. And then we're going to use that point to find the slope. So that's going to be m. So looking at my line, I'm just going to basically follow along until I find a point that is on the grid. So following along, another point that seems to be on the grid is this point right here. So to find my slope, we're going to go from left to right. We're going to go up. Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that's up 7 and right 1, 2, 3, 4. So that means my slope is going to be 7 over 4. Remember, we rise and then we run. So one thing we might remember, up and down is rise. Up is positive, down is negative, and then left and right is our run. Right is positive, left is negative. So now we have m and b. Remember that the equation is y equals mx plus b. So it's going to be y equals 7/4 x plus 4. Let's take a look at the second example here. So starting with my y-intercept, it's at -5. So my y-intercept is 0, -5. So that means b is -5. And then we're going to find another point on this line. So it looks like another point on this line is going to be right there. So now I'm going to count my slope. So from that point, from left to right, I'm going to go down 2. Since I went down, that's negative. And I'm going to go right 1, that's positive. So my slope is going to be -2 over 1, which you could just write as -2. So now my equation of my line, y equals -2x minus 5. All right, here's one from the homework. So starting with my y-intercept is right here. So that point is 0, -1. And then I'm going to find another point on that line. So another point on that line looks to be right here. We're going to use that to count our slope. So slope, looks like we go down 3. So that's going to be -3 and right 2. So that's +2. So our slope is going to be -3 over 2. So now my equation, y equals -3 over 2x minus 1. All right, now here's a couple of the homework problems. So starting with number 2, we're going to graph this line. So starting with my y-intercept, which is 0, 4, I'm going to plot that. And then from there, I'm going to use my slope, which is -5 over 4, which means we're going to go down 5 and then right 4. So from my point, I'm going to go down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to go right 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my point. It looks like I can't really go off the other grid, or I can't really do more points, otherwise I'm going to be off the grid. So we can actually go ahead and connect those, and there's my line. All right, now for this one, we're going to write the equation of the line. So starting with my y-intercept is 0, 4. So that means b is equal to 4. And now we're going to find our slope. So I'm going to look at my line, and it looks like there's another point right there. And I'm going to use that to count my slope. So my slope, I'm going to go up 2, right 1. So my slope is going to be 2 over 1, or we could just write it as 2. So my equation is going to be y equals 2x plus 4.